So I'm going to be talking on 10 wisdom tips for financial success. So the things I'm going to be sharing today, they are not just things that I maybe have read and I'm just sharing. They're actually practical things that I have done myself and I'm still doing that have helped me, and I believe can help anybody, can help anyone that would just put them to practice. So tip number one is to review your W4 IRS W4 form. So these are things that, some of them are things that you need to do like right now, at the start of the year. That would really go a long way, to straighten out your, your financial burden, or that could possibly straighten out or lessen your financial burden. And I said tip number one is to review your IRS Form W4. If you're wondering what that is, so that is a form, is Employees Withholding Certificate. That's the name of the form, W4 Employees Withholding Certificate. So that's a form that each time you're hired, you're hired into a new job, your employer asks you to fill out that form. So it enables them to withdraw or to deduct taxes, the tax portion of your pay from your paycheck. So it enables them to do that deduction, and also leaves you with some allowances that pertains to you. So the reason why you want to review that form, and by the way, that form is a form that you can always feel free to contact your employer at any time if you feel like there is a change you need to make on that form. So it's a tax withholding form, W4. You can always make changes to that form at any time as you find needed. You just contact your employer. So it's usually very important to do it at the beginning of the year if you can, like right now, because you want the changes to be effected in the course of, for the rest of the year. The reason you may want to consider doing that is because, in the course of the previous year, your financial your financial situation might have changed. Some things in your life might have changed, like maybe you now have you have another job, a second job. Maybe now you have more dependents than you had before. For example, if you have another child, in the course of the year, starting this new year, you may want to update that form to include that other, that you have one more dependent, because that could actually keep more money in your paycheck, by influencing the amount of the allowance that they're going to leave you, on that check, and reduce the deduction that they will take out. So you want to review that form W4, especially at the beginning of the year. So that's one of the things you want to do, like right now, concerning your finances. So that was to review your Form W4, IRS Form W4. Tip number two, wisdom tip number two, is to determine to spend intentionally. Determine to spend intentionally. Women, oh yeah, determined to spend intentionally. Don't do impulse buying. Don't do impulse buying. Or because you pass somewhere, they say things are on sale, so you just suddenly have to just fall for it and buy a bunch of stuff that you don't really need. Things that you may just go pack them in your storehouse, and you, for the rest of the year and the next couple of years, you have not even touched. You're hindering your finances by doing that. Be determined to spend intentionally. Like if you decide on buying something, ask yourself a couple of questions. Do I really need this thing? Is this something I will use regularly? Could I put this money towards something else that is, more of a need? Or could I even pay off some of my debts with this money? Or could I save this money instead of buying this thing? If you ask yourself a couple of questions before you make a purchase, a lot of time you might end up changing your mind for the better, you know. You don't want to just spend because you go to the store and before you know it, you go buy one thing and you come back with a whole lot of other stuff. No, we are living in such a challenging time, such an unprecedented time right now, that you really want to be very cautious with the way you handle your finances, because it can go a long way to relieve some burden off your shoulders. So that was to determine to spend your money intentionally. That was point number 2. Point number 3 is start a side hustle. Maybe you've never had a side hustle. This could be a time that you want to, you want to consider starting a side hustle. So starting a side hustle, it just enables you to have multiple streams of income. There is an old adage that say you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, a side hustle is not necessarily going to have like, it's not necessarily saying have 3, 4, 5 jobs. So people have side hustles that they just put in a couple hours. It's not really a job, it's just something they do maybe for fun, but it still brings in something. It still brings in something at the end of the day. No matter how little, there are so many different side hustles in this country. There are so many different opportunities, you know, that you can do. A side hustle that can bring a little bit of some additional income in your, in your pocket. So you may want to consider, yeah, if you're really, if you're really restrained by your income, you may want to consider having a side hustle. And like I said, there are so many of them. If you want me to make another video that will may go into detail as to maybe enumerating some possible side hustles, you just let me know in the comment section. But today I will just leave it at that. Tip number 4. Wisdom tip number 4 is to have an emergency fund. Have an emergency fund. This is very crucial, you all. This is it's extremely crucial that as you're working, as you're earning income, you want to be able to be putting aside some of it towards an emergency fund. Could be like just a savings account you open somewhere and you're putting money into it, to safeguard for rainy days. I'll tell you this pandemic, that we're even still currently going through, but the people that have been impacted the most, okay, that have been stressed out the most by this pandemic financially, there are people who don't have, who just suddenly were hit by this without, and then before they realize that they don't have no savings anywhere. They don't have nothing to fall back to. Pandemic hit and you were kicked out of your job. You're just living paycheck to paycheck. You don't have no emergency savings, nowhere that you could turn and even have $1,000 or a couple $1,000 saved that you could even use to pay your rent for the next couple of months. But guess what? The people who did that, who have been practicing the life of, who had their emergency fund, they were not as impacted financially. Emergency fund is something you want to have a habit of always, keeping that fund funded, if I can say that. So I would suggest emergency fund. Like, how much should you put aside for an emergency fund? You want to keep aside, put aside about 3 months worth of your expenses. 3 months worth of your total household expenses. You want to save up to that amount somewhere, just for emergency purposes. What does that mean? 3 months worth of expenses. So you just add up what are the total amount of expenses, bills in your household. Say for a month, the total amount you need to spend, to keep up your entire household, say it's $4,000 for a month. You want to multiply that amount by 3, which will be equal to $12,000. So you want to be saving, have a sinking fund somewhere, an emergency fund where you are saving money there, constantly saving money there to get to that amount of $12,000 as your emergency fund. So you keep that in a place where you can easily access a money market account, a checking account, or even a regular savings account. So that when something hits, you never know, you're kicked out of a job, just like that. You can fall back to, it can carry your household for the next 3 months. Say maybe it needs to take you another 3 months before you land another job. Then you have something to fall back to. I'll tell you, I thank God. It's wisdom to do that. It's wisdom. See, there are things that we pray about, but there are things that prayer has its place. There are things that you have to practically do. There are things you have to practically do to experience the results. Because when this pandemic hit, those of you who know me, you know that I just had a baby. I had a baby in March. My baby who is going to be turning 10 months old in a few days. I had him in March. Like just a week, just actually a few days before the pandemic really hit. So I had baby in March, meaning I was at home on maternity, not working. I want to give you personal examples so that, like I said, I'm not sharing things that I just read somewhere. I'm sharing practical things that have worked for me. It's still working for us, that can work for anyone. Before we knew it, my husband was, they were laid off. But guess what? In the meantime, before God provided another job, we could fall back on our on the savings that we had. But if you're just living paycheck to paycheck, everything you earn, you consume. Everything you earn, you consume. You can hardly climb up the financial ladder. If that's your lifestyle, you can hardly go anywhere financially. So you want to have an emergency fund, keep funding that account for emergency purposes. That was financial wisdom tip number 4. And the amount, the guideline for the amount that you want to save for that purpose is 3 months worth of your total household expenses. Tip number 5 is to avoid credit card debts. Avoid credit card debts. I see your question, Bapelumi. I'll address it in a little bit. So tip number 5 is to avoid credit card debt. I have to pause a second on that point because it is huge in this country. Credit card debt is something else in this country. In this country, USA, where I live, Credit card debt is something else. That is like killing or just pressing a lot of people. But you have to make a choice if you want to be one of those who will be so entangled into the I don't want to say into the stupidity of credit cards, but into this mess. Seriously. Avoid credit card debts. Especially this new year, you want to avoid opening any more credit cards. Those of you who already have some. According to a survey conducted on creditcards.com, 47% of Americans carry credit card debt. 47%. The people who are outside, outside maybe in the developing countries may look at us here and, oh, we are all driving big cars, they are doing this, oh, we look this. But they have no idea that 47% of these people, they are carrying credit card debts every month. Meaning that some of the good looking, however, things they're able to do is on credit cards. And guess what? According to that same survey, 40% of those carrying credit card balances month to month, 40% of them are only able to make the minimum monthly payment every month. Stay with me a little. I'm gonna be breaking it down so that anybody can understand this. I'll break it down a little. So credit card debt, credit card is a card. A lot of time you receive all the junk that come to your mail, and they say, oh, you have been pre-approved for $5,000 credit limit. You are pre-approved. Of course you are pre-approved. What do they have to lose? They are doing their marketing strategy. You are the one to lose if you fall in that trap. You are pre-approved for $5,000 credit limit. Okay, you take the card and you call them. Bam, you are signed up, and they approve you for credit for $5,000 credit limit. That is them just allowing you to use 5,000 worth of funds, or to have access to $5,000 that is not yours. I must stress that that is not your money and it's not free. As a matter of fact, it's not only free, by the time you use that money and you pay back, you are possibly going to pay back with a lot of interest on it. Especially if you fall into the habit of carrying those balances, like if you want to fall in this statistics of this 47% of people who are carrying every month, and they roll over, they have a balance on that credit card they have not paid, they move it to the next month, they are always having a credit card debt on that card every time. It's dangerous for your finances. It means that you're always, using this money that you do not, borrowing this money to use and hoping to pay it back. Don't get me wrong, I understand. I mean, I have been there, okay, at a point in time, but I'm telling you from the lessons I've learned. All right? Yeah, if you absolutely have to have a credit card, maybe just have one from your bank. But don't go to this store, they say credit card here, you sign up. You go to this other store here, they say credit card, oh, you are pre-approved, you signed up. Every junk mail that comes in your mailbox, approving you for a credit limit, you signed up. at the end of the day, you are in a total mess of debt. Because every time you charge that card, all the money that you charge on that card, you are liable for them. So if you have to have a credit card, make sure every month you are paying off the entire amount. You're paying off the entire balance on that card. Say you charge the card for $1,000 or $500. By the end of that month, find money from your pocket or from your debit card and pay off that balance completely before you think of using that credit card again. Don't roll over balances on it over from month to month. Because they are gonna catch you on interest rate charges. Every time you're rolling over those balances from month to month, you are not able to pay them off. Number one is it's hitting hard on your credit score. Number two, you are a slave to that lender. Because Proverbs 22:7, it says the borrower is a slave to the lender. You don't want to live a life of borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. The lender becomes your master. You don't have no freedom because you sit around and you know that you have a bunch of debts on your head. A bunch of being credit card debts. You can avoid them. If you absolutely need to use a credit card, have one and pay as you charge it, turn around and pay off that balance entirely. I have a credit card. We have one credit card in this household. But when we charge it, by that I mean when we use the card and buy something, we turn around and pay off the entire balance ASAP. As soon as possible. I'm not waiting for the month to end before I pay the entire balance. I'm paying it completely off ASAP. Because I don't want the month for it to come to month end and they charge interest on the balance and you pay the amount plus interest. Then imagine if you keep carrying those balances every year, they are charging you interest. Some of you have those credit cards, you don't even look at the statement to see how much you're actually, there is being accumulated or being charged for interest to you. It's just a bad, it's just a bad habit. It's just a complete bad habit. I mean, those of you that are watching this or would watch this later on YouTube, because it's gonna be uploaded there, a more edited version. Those of you watching this that you're coming from, parts of Africa, maybe you're coming from Cameroon, like where I am originally from. Have you been using do you use credit cards back home, or have you had to use credit cards back home? Do we have any credit cards in Cameroon? Were you not living? My brother Maurice, we're there, I see you, welcome. I say, una get any credit cards to Cameroon? Una pay una bills and uti borrowed money before you pay a house rent or before you buy some clothes for yourself. Are you using borrowing money somewhere on a card before you live? Before you fund your daily living? We don't do that. And we live. So those of us who have come over here now, we never did that back home. Then we come here and fall into this trap and we get so entangled into it. Can we think? Back home, we're not using any credit card and we live. I know you may want to start telling me all those justifications. Leave me that thing. We can go into all that, but I'm telling you that I'm talking from experience. You do not, having a credit card is not an absolute need. Let me know in the comment section if you want me. I actually feel like credit card is a big deal that I feel like I'm gonna be making another video on it, because there is a lot that I can go into, talking a lot of details about it, especially as to why I don't think you really need it, because it's a mindset thing. See, they have this, there's this, oh, they say when old adage, go to Rome, do what the Romans do. I think that's not always true. It's not always true to go to Rome and just do what the Romans do. It's not always true. And this is one of the instances. I'm telling you, there are people here who live on what they make and not on credit cards. And they do that successfully. Because it's a mindset thing. They are determined that they will live within their means. That they will live their life within their means. And so they plan every aspect of their life within that means. They keep their expenses within their income. That's how you do it. Just because they say you have access to a credit limit of $4,000, then you have to go buy some things for $3,000. That you don't have no $3,000 with you. Because somebody say, hey, you can borrow $3,000 from on this card and you can pay. So you suddenly go things you did not plan to buy, things you cannot afford. You are tempted to because you have access. Somebody, they say you have access to. It's a mindset thing. When you get that credit card, it lures you. See, that's why the scripture says we should stay away, flee away, flee from every appearance of evil. It's like, if you don't want to drink mimbo, if you loiter around a bar, if you go to loiter around a bar, you must drink mimbo. Right? So if you want to avoid debt, don't go get the credit card. Because when you get the credit card, that is full access to getting into debt. So credit card in itself is not necessarily like a completely bad thing. But it could be a really, really bad thing for your finances if you have no discipline. If you have no discipline and you have no self-control, you have no control on your finances. So the best thing is to just stay away from the temptation. By just using your own debit card that you have the money in. Your own debit card, your own cash. And like I said, if you have those emergency cases where you absolutely have to have a credit card, use it responsibly. I've been there. Use it responsibly. As you charge it, turn around and pay off the entire amount. That way you never get charged any interest. You never get charged any interest on it. Pardon me, this is my kiddos banging the doors here. So I'll just move over to the next point. So avoiding credit card. Yeah, and I have to emphasize, don't fall into that trap. They say, oh, you have 3,000 credit limit, 4,000 credit limit. Oh, as long as every month you only pay the minimum payment of say 10%, you are fine. Only pay us the minimum payment, you are good. Then you fall into the trap of accumulating that debt. Every month you only pay, oh, a little portion, because they say you can only, they say, oh, as long as you pay only that 10, 15%, you're fine. You can keep rolling over the debt to the next month, carrying it forward and carrying it forward. Debt keeps piling up upon debt. Before you know it, you are in a big mess of debt. I'm telling you, if you want to turn your financial situation around, be determined to just stay away from those credit card tactics. It will help you a lot. And if you absolutely need to use it very wisely. Don't carry forward balances on it. Because I'm telling you, by the time it piles up, at the end of the day, the amount that you have to pay back, you may not even be very aware of how much you actually pay back. Because including all the interest that compounds, you end up paying a whole lot more than what you borrowed. Because that's how they make their money. That is how they make their money. It's a marketing strategy. And that's how they are doing their business. The credit card companies are doing their business. Don't be their victim. Right? Be smart this new year. Point number 6. Tip number 6. Don't spend money you have not earned. Do not spend money you have not earned. I know this is related to the former one, but I thought I'll really state this clearly like this because I think it needs to. Don't spend money you have not earned. For example, okay, we all hear there's going to be stimulus check they're going to be giving to most Americans. Then you already have gone out and borrowed money here and there to say, oh, if my stimulus check come, then I'll pay back. What if it doesn't come? Oh yeah, we've heard of cases where like the last stimulus check, some people did not get, or for one reason or the other. What if you have, indulge yourself in that kind of financial obligation, hoping to receive a stimulus check to pay back, and it doesn't come? Or it comes and maybe it's not in, maybe you miscalculated, it's not nearly in the amount you expected. So don't spend money you have not earned. Earn your money, have your income, then you decide what you're going to spend it on. And spend intentionally. My pays people, oh yeah. Maurice, oh yeah. I know people back up, this one day too, this one day. Some people, before their monthly salary come, they have already spent more than 3/4 of it. They have borrowed here and there, borrowed here and there, borrowed here and there. Then when they get that salary, all of it has just gone. It's already gone before you even, like before the money, you're waiting for the money, but the money is not actually yours. You have debts here and there that you have already borrowed before you even earn that income. It's a bad financial habit. It's a bad habit. If you continue like that, you can hardly succeed financially when you live a life of always borrow. Like you have not earned any money. You've not worked the money yet. You are just, thinking, hoping. Oh yeah, that man be promised me some money, say go give me. So now you already go enter into another financial obligation. Borrow something here, hoping to get that. Anything can happen to that and you don't receive it, then you are stuck. So don't spend money you have not earned. That's wisdom. Tip number 7. Tip number 7. This is especially international students. Oh yeah, I've got you covered. Bapelumi, where are you? Tip number 7 is to review your student loans. Yeah, always review your student loans. Especially you international students or students in general. When you're taking student loans, I know a lot of time in this country, something like student loans, you can hardly avoid it if you're gonna have a college degree here. At one point or the other, you will have to take a student loan. Unless you're really lucky to have a full scholarship. But you want to review that package each time they approve you of the student loan. You want to carefully review that package. You want to really look into the details of your promissory note. Look at all the terms of it. Look at the interest rate on it. Review the package carefully. Because sometimes review it so you only take the amount of loan that you really need for your school or for your school needs. Because a lot of time you will be eligible for a lot more. But don't fall into the trap just because you are eligible to take a lot of loans. Don't take it that you don't really need. Statistics show that, the average student graduates with, that on average, students graduate with an average of $40,000 student loans. You hear that? $40,000. Cameroonians, so yeah, you know how much that day? $40,000 over, like, now close to like 20 plus million, that for Cameroon money. Now, yeah, now like 20 million plus, maybe close to 25 million, that for Cameroon money. Per person, on average, what will you take and pay for student loans? But sometimes if you review that package, when you are eligible for it, they approve you of it, review it very well and carefully. Only take the loans that you really need, the total amount that you really need to take care of your school expenses. Don't just take the whole package because you're eligible for it. Because then you end up with a bunch of student loans that, good luck if you end up finding a real good job that will easily take care of those loans. Because a lot of times, people live here in their old age. I know a lot of them. I'm telling you. I know a lot of them. In the course of my work, I deal with a lot of big people here. Some are still paying off their student loans since when they were in college. From back when they were in college. Because of how much loans they accumulated. So if you are working and your money is going, to one loan to another, is going this direction, how much are you left with? So be smart when you are taking those student loans. Some people go to community colleges and they come out without no loans and they still get a college degree and they live a better lifestyle. I am telling you, I know some of them too. Then they don't have to deal with a bunch of those loans. I know in a lot of cases you have to take them to get the college degree that you need. But review that package carefully and only take the maximum, just the minimum that you really need. Don't take the whole thing just because you qualify for it. Because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, especially student loans, you can hardly, when you have it, it's one of the loans that you can hardly like get away with. And the interest rate on it is something else. On student loans particularly, the interest rate is not cheap. So review it. Review your student loan package. Yeah. Be conversant with all the terms of it and know the rates. Take only what you really need. And while you are in school, do everything to, like, if you can possibly have a job on the side or a part-time job, that will do you so much good. Because it will even help if you are able to start paying off the loans early while you are still in school. I'm telling you, it's going to go a long way to reduce, the principal on that loan, which in turn will reduce the amount of interest that would have compounded on that loan. Just to give you a little background, I know for those of you who are watching, some of you already know, but for those who will be watching later, to just give you a little background so you have an idea where I'm coming from with all of this. I am an accountant by profession. So some of these things, I've actually done a lot. I've done research on them, especially credit card stuff. In the course of my study, I've had to do detailed research as to that topic. And even just finances as a whole. So just so you know. So, yeah, review the student loans. Point number 8. Or tip number 8. Avoid wastage. Avoid wastage. See, in the parable of, in the Bible, when Jesus performed the miracle of 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, you remember what he said at the end when they had distributed, they had served and ate? He said they should gather all the remains. They should gather all the remains and put them in baskets so that nothing should be wasted. So that nothing should be wasted. Because God does not approve of wastage. So we should not as well. My African people, oh yeah, African ladies, Cameroonian ladies, we love to cook, right? We cook good food and cook. Recently, I was talking with somebody and he was shocked that I say I cook like every other day. He was saying in their culture, they just cook food like for 2 weeks, a month, and put in the freezer and be eating it. I'm like, what? There's no way I'm going to be eating the same food that I cooked 2-3 weeks ago and kept in the fridge and be eating frozen food. No. So we cook a lot. Fresh food every day. This one, I have been, I am part of it, but I'm working, I'm being, being cautious of it, and I'm working to get better at it. Let's avoid wastage. We cook a lot of food, and every time we have a whole lot of leftovers, we dump it away and go cook another one. We are always having leftovers that we dump them away in the trash. That's money we are wasting. That's money you're wasting. If you find yourself always dumping a lot of leftovers of food, that's money you're wasting. I feel like we should do a little bit of meal planning. If you just plan your meal prep a little better, you will avoid some of that waste. Just plan your meals, a little bit, plan it more carefully to avoid that waste. Because I'm telling you, some people are somewhere, some hungry children are somewhere in some parts of the world, that instead of wasting that, you could save it, and you could, that money, maybe you could send somewhere and help somebody there, instead of just buying things, cooking them, and wasting them. Mommy says here that that's our habit. I'm telling you, a lot of us are in it, especially us people from, from our culture. We cook big pots of food like this, and every time we are dumping them in the trash, a lot of leftovers, meat and everything in it. We're wasting money. Let's try to be more, careful with our meal plan. It's gonna save us some money. That money we could, if we don't have no use for it, we could send it to somebody that could bless somebody with it. Wisdom tip for financial success. Tip number 9 is to set financial goals. Set financial goals for yourself. Set financial goals for yourself. Especially at the beginning of the year like this, like we're in now in January. Set financial goals, just like you set goals for your life, maybe physical goals, you want to stay fit, burn them calories, oh yeah. Just as you set goals physical goals to stay fit, you set spiritual goals, to stay on top of your relationship with God. Set financial goals. I'm telling you, things don't just happen. People who succeed financially, it's not a luck. It don't just happen because they wake up and they're born rich or something like that. I mean, there are some exceptional cases like that, but in a lot of times, it's intentional effort. They work at it. They set goals, and they are every day, every time they are taking strategic steps towards accomplishing those goals. They plan for their finances. They have goals. A goal is like a vision board that you see so far ahead that is going to motivate you to keep moving so you can get closer to that final destination. But if you have no vision, that's why even the scripture says when there's no vision, people, they perish. Because you cannot arrive at a place where you don't even know. You can't embark on a journey you don't have a destination. Who does that? Can you embark on a journey that you have no destination? And that's what happens when we keep praying vague prayers. Father, bless me this year, bless me. Bless you how? For what? What exactly do you need? Make your prayer point specific. Have targets. Set financial goals and say this year, this is what I desire, exactly like this. That way you will plan every month. You are doing something very intentionally, strategically, to get you closer and closer to that end point, to that goal that you have for the year. And make that goal realistic. Make that goal a realistic one. Don't just get this ambiguous goal that is not realistic. Make it realistic so that every day, every month, you are taking strategic steps. You're very mindful of that goal that you have set for that year at the back of your mind, so that you're working towards it. My baby, I see you. Mr. Comment my hobby. You're welcome. Yeah, so set those goals and prayerfully work towards them. Don't just have vague prayers that you are not having a target point or a destination point. Because even God says that the word of God says, so as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do. Don't just be telling God, bless me, bless me. You have no specific direction. You have to ask for specific things. As you set those goals, you prayerfully work towards them, towards achieving them, taking very conscious steps. And review is very important. You review those goals like quarterly in the course of the year, quarterly, like every 3 months. You review those goals, those financial goals you've set. Because if you just set those goals, don't do it like how people do, oh, New Year resolution. Every year, every January, New Year resolution is this. Then they just wake up, it's December of that year, for them to realize, they have not done anything to, to keep up with that New Year resolution. Don't do it like that. When you set those financial goals, you review them at least quarterly. That way, you realize how close are you to achieving that goal. So that if you've been slacking in the course of that review, you can wake up and say, we are too far behind, though. I'm too far behind. I better try to do I need some catch up to do. So we're rounding up here. Looking at the time too. Wisdom tip number 9. Nope, number 10. Tip number 10 is budgeting. Yes, budgeting. Pelumi. Budgeting. As simple as it is, budgeting is what you want to do. I am telling you, whoever is watching this, all of you watching this and those who will be watching this later on, if you've not taken anything, if you've not taken anything out of this before now, this is the tip you want to take and run with and walk with and make a habit. You want to be budgeting your finances, because that is the only way you can save your money, which you absolutely need to do. Budgeting enables you to save your money. It enables you to very intentionally allocate your money to specific things that they need to go to. You only can do that when you budget. I'll repeat that. Say budgeting enables you to very intentionally allocate different portions of your income into very specific areas that you do that very intentionally. And that is how you can have a pocket and say, this is going towards my savings account or is going into my savings account, and you do that. Oh, yes. Thank you, sir. You are welcome, Deacon. I see you. Thank you. Yes, you can be smart with the use of credit. I agree. And I already laid that too. But I must emphasize that I hit hard here on credit card. But generally speaking, a lot of times there is a misconception. I'm saying that because I disagree with the fact that some people say, oh, you should leverage on credit. They don't consider the risk factor involved in leveraging on credit. Because if you factor in the risk involved, then maybe you reconsider your point, your stand. But anyways, I was on budgeting, which was the last point. So it's absolutely as if you didn't take anything before now. If there's only one thing you want to take out of this video today, is to start budgeting. If you've never been doing that, or if you've been doing it already, keep it up. keep it up. Don't only budget, but make sure you stick to the budget. Don't only budget as to, oh, partition the money, partition all the income into all the different expenditures. Make sure to stick to it, because it is one thing to say you partition and say, oh, this amount is going to go for this amount, because that's what budgeting is. And just so you know, nowadays there are budgeting apps out there. If you need some recommendations that maybe I know a few, leave me a comment there, please. But some people like the old school way. Maybe people do it differently, however it works for you. Some people still want to have, the old school of writing things down in a ledger, state all their, list all their income and partition all that income into all their bills. Then they keep a portion for saving, a portion that goes to their emergency fund. That's what budgeting is all about. It's basically having that intentional effort of strategically dividing your money that you earn into the different areas that you want the money to go to. Not that you earn the money, then the money just flies. You wake up and realize you don't know where your money is going to. It's coming in, maybe even so much, but it's like the money disappears because you are not intentional with where your money is going. It's just going this, you're spending it, it goes here, it goes there. But when you start budgeting, you start being very intentional, being very aware. You are making that conscious decision as to where your money should go, all the different areas, starting from all your bills and, the savings you want to go, the giving you want to do. Because yes, it's important that you include giving in your budget. Include giving. There's something very, very important in being a giver. Because when you give, you always receive. There's a blessing in it. But you intentionally break down all your income every time into the areas that you want them to go. So that when you receive the income, you say, okay, you had budgeted that this amount would go towards savings. Put it in practice, stick to that budget and say, okay, I had already budgeted that $200 is for savings every month. Make sure you put it into that savings. If you said 500 is for household groceries, make sure you stick to that budget. Because one thing that is always troubling with budgeting is a lot of time people, they do all the classification, they do the theoretical part of the budgeting, but they don't stick to it practically. Then it won't really work. But when you stick to it, then you see the difference. You see the difference. I'm telling you, that's how a lot of people save a good amount of money, because they are sticking to the budgeted amount they had allocated for their savings. It enables you to save. It gives you the freedom to. Budgeting actually allows you to spend freely, because you already had planned and allocated that fund for a certain spending that needs to be done. And so when the income comes, you put it towards that expenditure very freely. But you're doing it very intentionally, not impulse buying, that you just, money enters your hand, then you start buying things that you did not plan for. Yeah, I see your comments there. Somebody says the key is discipline in the use of credit. I always say, if you don't have the cash in your pocket, don't use credit cards. Exactly. Exactly. And the thing is, if you even have the cash in your pocket, instead of, going through the temptation of using that credit card, which a lot of times psychologically, it makes you think you have a lot more money than you actually do, because you can easily run that credit card. They will just charge it, right? So instead of falling into that temptation, why don't you just use the cash that you have, which is yours? But if you are disciplined enough, and you are having a focus what you want that credit to do, charge it and turn around. I do that a lot. I do that with, you know, like a couple like store card that I may have, which I very rarely use, but they like the rare cases that I use, I turn immediately. I don't even turn. I charge the store card there and use my debit card and pay off that store card right away, just so that I can take the discount out. I can, you know, benefit from the discount that they are offering. Because a lot of times those store cards will say, okay, if you use our store card, you have a 20% discount, 30%. So I run the store card and immediately pay with my debit card, pay off that card right there. Like that's the better way of doing it. That would entail that you already have that money, that cash, just like Deacon is saying here. It will entail that you have that cash in your own card, in your own debit card. So if you don't have it, don't charge what you don't have. So that's budgeting. It enables you to save money, because you need to save money to build up your emergency fund and for investment purpose. To leave some legacy for your children. Somebody mentioned that in the comment before. So this is where that comes into play. Budgeting will enable you to save money, which will enable you to start investing. Yes, you need to start investing as early, you know, as early as possible. The earlier you're able to start investing in your life, you know, while you're still young, the greater your chances of you building wealth. Because of the power of compounding interest. Yes. So yeah, I pray and hope that if we take one or two things out of this and put them in practice, God blessing our effort, our finances will get better. If there's something else that maybe you feel like there is a need for me to go into, for us to talk more about it, do another video, let me know in the comment section. I can do another video. I can do more research into it, and we have another video which will be uploaded. And be sure to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be the Light Christian is the name, and it's also on this page where you connected. The link to the channel is on this Be the Light Christian page, because sometimes I may not be able to come live like this, but I can upload the videos there. Then you will immediately get a notification if you have subscribed and you've hit that notification bell. So thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a great night. I will see you in the next video when I come on live. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you for all your contributions, and I'll be responding to your comments when I sit down on it. Thank you.